Raven, and I'm here with the legendary Dream Theater here at Dream Theater headquarters to talk about the upcoming 15th studio album, A View from the Top of the World. Thanks, guys, for having me here.
Absolutely. You're welcome anytime.
Very, very exciting. We're recording this at a time where obviously the world was in lockdown, not a lot of shows, no touring, and talk about that and finding inspiration in that time with no real deadline in mind yet, right? It was sort of, let's just use this time for something and see if anything creative happens.
What are we going to do? Sit around and, get on Zoom calls and say hi? Let's get together and do what we do.
Well, we do have our cooking show that's private.
Right, that's true.
Right.
Recipes.
It's titled A View from the Top of the World. I feel like that title has some significance for...
I mean, honestly, this is titling records is a funny thing because sometimes it comes really quickly. Sometimes it even comes before, and sometimes it's really hard, trying to come up with.
It's like 30 with 8 words in the title.
Oh my God! Yeah, it was ridiculous. It's like, should we do a sing? And then one day I just kind of saw that, and I was like, you know what? That's pretty damn Dream Theater-y as a title.
Is there a board in the studio, like a running list of titles you guys write, or
No. But like anything that we do, I just pose it to everybody and say, what do you guys think of it? And I think the time, when you know that it is the title or it is the decision, whatever it may be, is when everybody kind of comes back, like, yes. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I remember everyone's, that's such a positive title. That's cool. Love it. Thumbs up. Blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, okay, cool. So.
Jordan, inspiration for the music on this album, did it come from a particular place? Were you guys looking to explore something new or different or what were you reaching for when you started to write? Lyrically, were you writing... Or do you do this generally, write lyrics while you're not even recording albums at the time, accumulating ideas, or do you look for the music from these guys as it's building to inspire, lyrics for songs?
Yeah.
You guys were on tour promoting Distance Over Time and playing Scenes from Memory in full, which was amazing. I saw that concert; it was unbelievable. And then that gets cut short. But I'm wondering if revisiting that album, that iconic album, influenced this album as well musically. Was that something? Do you take that, when you play older things from previous tours into maybe what you're working on?
I think it all kind of blurs in together. If anything, your memory is refreshed for that period. Mm-hmm. And then that definitely, I think, in the back of your mind, it's still running as you're writing. And I remember during the writing process, we were very keen on whenever there was a strong reference to that album, we're very aware, well, wait, it sounds too much like that. So then let's go this way with it. So
I remember when we were out and we were doing a change of seasons, and do you remember we were talking one day?
Yeah.
There's a reason why this hit.
Yeah. There's certain things you learn from life on the road and making albums about the way that people respond to your music and different sections and different feels, and we kind of think...
well, like we said, we're at Dream Theater headquarters. This is the first album as a band that you're making in this place, right? Was it written here? Did you guys write stuff? Did you bring some ideas in? I know that's always evolving for you guys. Last time you lived together for a month and wrote stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember anyone. I mean, maybe a couple of ideas. I'm not sure. It was done. Yeah. It was all inspiration. We jammed.
Yeah. You always have a lot of toys and new
string,
guitars.
And I had the different setup, but I don't know. For me, I wanted to push things. I wasn't thinking of any other albums personally. I just wanted to push stuff from my instrument, the things I've never been able to fit in or do, and everybody, just wanted to look at everyone having a good time.
Yeah.
That was my angle on it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, having had a chance to hear the record now, there is sort of a freshness and even though it obviously not completely recorded live, it has that kind of live sound to it, which I wonder having your own place to sit here and have the freedom to record when you want and relax, does that influence that? Does it make it more fun to actually make an album?
It definitely does. It's some of that has to do with the way that we're set up. And also to circle back to your question about the writing and the material, just from a personal standpoint, like with me, I had been through 2 projects where with my solo album, I had collected a lot of ideas over the years and put that into it. LTE was some ideas and then improvisation. Gordon wrote something, it was in the morning. And,
Right, the furthest
Right,
you
right,
were was
yeah.
the other room.
Right, exactly. So it was the most, like, I don't know if, like, personally, I just got all that stuff out of my system. Not that I didn't have any more, but it's just like, I want to leave that, any preconceived ideas alone and just come in. So it was really just, it was our fresh energy of being together, you know.
So where does a song start then? When you're at that point and you're writing fresh from scratch, you're not bringing any new ideas.
Someone
Are you
just
just
plays
in here
something.
It comes in the morning.
Yeah, but someone just will play
Yeah,
something.
Like I'll sneak in, before anybody gets here, and just say I got an idea, and I'll do it. And when the guys come, I got this. Or the other thing, a skill of
I
having.
can see it in my head. I've seen it so many times.
Like everybody's like they're making noise and playing, but meanwhile,
And James, how far along are some of those ideas before you start to be able to hear a melody there and start to add some things?
Well, it is to me. It is to me. It's all, I just wrote a great melody. You guys want to hear it?
Well,
Wait a minute.
in one case,
You
you
know?
were singing a melody. We ended up playing it instead.
You're right.
Right,
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's right.
Exactly.
The other
So
thing about
that's-
this space is there's a level of patience.
Yeah.
There really is a level,
because
right?
you want to my mind will be racing with this riff and that riff and this possibility, but meanwhile, he's expressing an idea. Everybody's
Right.
has to have the chance to say what they say. So you kind of hold on to it, and if there's a
Right.
little place to put some, well, how about this? Maybe then that's kind of how it
But
works.
it's a great system because you're actually building a foundation. So the final idea has to be filtered. Everyone has to.
Right.
Right.
You're going to go through it.
Does one idea from you maybe spur an idea to you, Jordan, that you hadn't heard before and so on? I mean, does
Well,
it build
of
like
course.
that?
Absolutely, and a lot of times on this album, I think, kind of rewinding a little bit.
Yeah.
One way of thinking about it is we were.
One of the things that I take from your music, going back to when I first started listening to the band, like back in Images and Words, was that the second verse compare what traditional songwriting is. And as a person listening to music at the time, that was immensely refreshing because pop and traditional rock music was always and fine, repeating the first verse, again, second it's sort of similar. And you guys just flipped that on its head, and that's been sort of a trademark, I think, ever since. But where does that stem from? Just a desire to want to be doing something different there? I mean, is that as basic as it gets?
I mean, that's a great thing to bring. That's such a Dream Theater thing because we're just like the second verse can't be the same. Like, well, we ran out of
already
ideas.
did that once.
Yeah, we did.
no
that.
idea how to orchestrate it again.
Yeah, exactly.
It gave
exciting.
you a reason to really listen to the whole song.
Yeah,
But
Because what was going to come next, you didn't know.
right.
And,
Exactly.
and some of that comes almost from a classical composition perspective
Yeah.
because we do a lot. Well, we'll do like you said, we'll take a verse and we'll kind of reorchestrate it, but kind of combining those ideas together.
And they have to tie in. So one of the things we do is we literally talk about 101 things to do with this time signature.
Just Jordan mentioned it. It's like just Prague playing Prague. You just have the liberty.
Yes.
Like I just remember hearing Hemispheres for the first time, or Close to the Edge, and you're listening to you don't know what's going to happen. It's not a normal song by any means.
Right.
And they're just going in and out of time signatures and feels, and all of a sudden there's this section that seemingly has nothing to do with anything, but it makes sense in the song.
Right.
So part of it is like how we were influenced musically as well.
Sure.
And I think the cool thing about that is that when you were listening to Rush, and I think we've been very, very conscious of that. That's
Right.
key.
And there's a couple of times you set out, like, let's purposefully just go
Right.
bang, bang, bang.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, where did that come from? But it's not often.
Right.
No, and it never really sounds out of place.
Yeah.
Well, because you've also trained the listeners to expect the unexpected, right? So if it's not off kilter, then that's almost weird.
Well, I also there's also a craft to it because there's things going on that people might not be aware that's happening that every one of us has a a crafty way of dealing with
Yeah.
it.
Transitional craft.
Transitional craft.
That's
Transitional
title.
craftsmanship.
Transitional crafting time. Let's
That's
go.
it. That's
Getting
exactly
getting
it.
back to the new record, one of the things that I'm sure fans have noticed by now is the length of the songs, which is, for a prog fan, can already make you drool. These are all really long songs. I think the shortest is somewhere around 6-something minutes, with a long epic in there. Was that also an approach that you went into this record saying we want to make it more of a maybe proggy, to use that term, kind of record?
We actually didn't worry about that, did we? We just played, and the songs when we would listen to them, we were always surprised at the length.
Yes,
Goes
you're
by.
right.
So we didn't set out for specific. We just said this.
Absolutely right.
Again,
But we allowed it.
We allowed it, just
We
like
allowed it, yeah.
we're not finished yet. Keep writing.
You're right. We definitely lifted a little
Totally
bit of
right.
a purposeful restriction we put on ourselves for Distance Over Time. Because we had a really specific thing we wanted to do with that. We're going to do one, so it's like, we're definitely doing it.
Right,
We don't
right,
care how
right.
long it's going to be.
Right.
As long as it fits on the side of an LP.
There's also noticeably no ballad really on the album, or sort of no 4-minute single. Again, just to go over that a little bit, after the songs are done and you've reached what you think is the album, do you even look back at that and go, hey, we didn't write a 4-minute ballad? Should we have? Maybe we didn't. Does that ever come into mind?
Well, from my perspective, just musically speaking, what's important is to have a balance of energy. You don't want the whole album to be like just, aggressive. You want, places where you can breathe, where you can just sit back and groove, whatever. As long as that's in place, then it's fine. Mm-hmm. I would wonder if John, from his production perspective, is kind of thinking, well, we should add a ballad. I'm not sure.
Well, I agree with you, Jordan, because even though there's not a ballad, quote unquote.
We're very conscious of allowing the music to breathe. We all really appreciate things when they're calm and mellow and melodic and just feel good. So, that's just our perspective.